Okay, guys, so let's answer the question, will AI replace the business analyst, or will AI replace people who perform business analysis as a job? And I'm here to tell you AI is not going to replace the business analyst. And in fact, I think the role of the business analyst is going to be even more critical in a world where we're going to have a lot of machines and systems that is highly capable of doing things. And that's where I think a business analyst with their unique skills bring a lot of value to organizations. So let's get into why that is the case. Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about is, let's first understand what AI is good at and what AI cannot do. So firstly, AI is really good at processing large amounts of data. So when I say large amounts of data, it's like thousands and thousands of lines of code or text. It can easily read through it and understand it, and it can summarize it for you. You can ask any question you want. It gives you an answer based on reading like hundreds of pages. Now, you can imagine a human being trying to read an entire, like a 100 or 150 page book. It takes a lot of time. Let's just assume you've read a book with 200 pages in it. And if I ask you a question on, say, page 120 of that book, you're certainly going to struggle to answer it. And so here's where I think AI is incredible in its power, and the memory is just amazing, that you can ask a lot of stuff to it and you actually get a really good, decent answer. Um, so the bit that AI is amazing is data processing and finding patterns, being able to connect dots. It can generate a lot of text, it can generate images, it can even draw process maps. And from a BA perspective, AI can write requirements. So if by giving it 30 or 40 words prompt, it can actually write you a 10-page requirements document for a particular system. You might say, write me a system specifications document for an app which I'm going to build, which is about tracking my gym workout or my gym sessions. AI can actually write you a document within about 10 or 20 seconds. It can write a 10-page document with like a 50 or even 100 requirements in it. Now, the problem is it pretty much literally answers the question that you have. It does not take into account the human aspect of things, right? So where AI is struggling is to understand the nuances of human beings and understand the nuances of different stakeholders, understanding body language, understanding subtle things that people don't actually specify or people don't say it outside. But as humans, we have this skill or a certain thing within humans that we can actually see another human being and we can actually make something that, they're probably actually not telling you literally, but you do understand how they feel about certain thing or what is their emotional status. And these are things that an AI cannot currently do. And I think these are the skill sets that separate business analysts from AI. So as a business analyst, I've been doing business analysis for a long time, and the skill that I value the most and the skill that I look for in people that want to get into business analysis is really being able to have great communication, with others, and also being able to build relationships and build trust with people that they work with. Because building trust is the number one skill that I think every business analyst should master. So if you can somehow learn the skills of being able to, being a trustworthy person, being someone that your stakeholders can come to and rely on you to give them an answer, that's the kind of business analyst I think will really thrive and grow in the future. So people ask, how do I learn the ability to build trust with my stakeholders? When you work in an organization, the best way to build trust with your co-workers or with your stakeholders is by keeping up your promises that you make to them. So for example, you might have a meeting with them, and then at the end of the meeting you will say, okay, hey, thanks for your time. I'll basically summarize everything we've discussed and send you the notes by end of today. And you go out of the meeting, and after time a lot of people kind of don't follow through on these promises that they make. They think, oh yeah, look, I'm too busy today, I can send it out tomorrow. That's where I think the problem lies. I think if you tell your stakeholders that you're going to send the email by end of day today, make sure you send it out before you finish for the day, because that really shows you keep your word, and that kind of provides them, they actually create a perspective, or they create an impression that, okay, yeah, this guy, he does what he says he will do, and he follows through on his promises. So actually, that little thing will be so much handy when it comes to talking about real business problems in the project. So please, I kind of request that everyone starts doing this, and it's not just business analysts; it could be anyone. But I think especially for business analysts, this is the number one skill that you should focus on, and start just learning to keep up these little promises that you make. Anyway, so I think coming back to why AI cannot replace business analysts is because it lacks understanding of this human behavior. And I think as a business analyst, a lot of the time what I'm doing is I'm talking to various stakeholders, trying to gauge how people feel about a certain system. And you want people to open up about the issues that they have. And the more that your stakeholders open up about the process issues, or they might have certain issues with a different department not completing a certain task within certain time, these are things that a stakeholder might not fully open up to a business analyst to start with. But then over time, when you start building trust and you have that relationship with them, they start opening up about these things. And this is the valuable information that a business analyst can get. So basically, the skill of critical thinking and problem solving. So these are the two main skill sets that I think every business analyst should focus on as well, apart from building trust and having that sort of human aspect of the profession covered. If I have to talk about a bit more hard skills, I'm going to say critical thinking, problem solving, and analytical thinking. So this is where, as a business analyst, you ask the question why 5 times until you get to the root cause of problems. And as a business analyst, you start to dig into people's emotions, people's thoughts and views, and how certain stakeholders are struggling with a certain system or a process. And you sit with them. You can do a day in a life of where you sit with your stakeholders to understand the pain that they go through. So these are things that a business analyst will do, and especially things like running effective workshops. And a workshop is something that every business analyst would have at least 1 or 2 workshops in projects that business analysts work on, where business analysts would basically have a lot of stakeholders sitting around the room from different departments of basically within the same department, depending on the type of problem that you're trying to solve, where you get everyone together and people start discussing the process and the pain points and the opportunities that they have within that process. And running this workshop is a major skill that I think business analysts should focus on future. But facilitation is such a hard skill to master, and I still haven't perfected it. I'm kind of still learning every time I have a workshop. I come out thinking I could have done it a lot better. Something, I just don't feel 100% satisfied with a lot of the workshops, because every time I sort of run a workshop, I feel there are some aspects that I could have done better. But I think that's probably okay. As long as I recognize that and I keep learning from my own workshops, I think I'll be doing better. So facilitating a big workshop, I think you absolutely need a human in there to facilitate the session. So facilitation will be another skill that business analysts bring when solving problems, which AI cannot do. Because when you're running the workshop, when you're the person sitting there, you can sense when someone is actually feeling a bit concerned about a certain point being made. And then there could be some people who are a bit shy that would not open up. And you actually want to hear from everyone's views and opinions. So trying to get people to open up, as a facilitator, I kind of can sort of slightly give them a nudge to say, have you got anything to add? Or do you agree with the statement that this person is making? And when you start doing that, people actually eventually open up. And you can start seeing if the meeting is going off track. As a facilitator, your job is to try and bring everyone back to the goal or the objectives of that workshop. And these are things that I think business analyst brings to the table. So, and I think this skill set would absolutely be required, because problem solving is what we're doing. Every organization, every company is constantly striving to become better, and they only become better by improving on their current state. And organizations, if they want to stay in business, they have to constantly reinvent themselves. They have to constantly keep improving their processes and systems. And in order for organizations to keep improving, they need to have projects, and these projects often involve a business analyst to help navigate these things. And a business analyst acts as that sort of engine that would help the projects take off. And also, when the project comes to the end where the system is going to go live, the business analyst helps the project land well, right? So BAs actually become so much critical for the success of any project, which could be implementing a new system or improving an existing process. So these are things where a business analyst becomes extremely critical. So the thing that I want to say here is that I think we kind of discussed a lot about why a business analyst would be more valuable in future. But what I want to say is a business analyst that uses AI is going to be 100 times more than a BA or a business analyst that does not use any AI tools. So here's the thing that I think every business analyst should really take into account, which is, if you want to survive and thrive in the future in an AI dominated world, I think you need to start learning AI tools. And by incorporating AI into the work that you do, you become 10 times or even 100 times more powerful. Now, let's look at some of the AI tools that you could use as part of your job. So, the first thing that I want to talk about is meeting transcription and meeting insights, right? So, as a business analyst, you have a lot of meetings with your stakeholders, and a lot of times, like most meetings where it's a requirement session, we typically record that meeting, and then you come back to your desk, you replay the meeting, and you start taking notes, or you try and find things that the stakeholder has said that you missed when you're sort of sitting with the stakeholder trying to take notes. Now, a lot of this process is time wasted. In today's world, so many tools out there where you can actually record your meeting, and in real time the meeting is transcribed within the next 10 seconds of the meeting being over, and within the next 20 seconds all your insights from that meeting can actually be extracted by AI and presented to you in whatever format you want. So these tools are absolutely critical for every business analyst. I think if you're a business analyst, if you're not using these tools, I think you should start using it. I cannot stress how important it is to start recording and transcribing your meetings and having every meeting captured and stored in a certain part of your system, because over the life of a project, you would have like 20 or 30 or 50 meetings, and a lot of stuff gets discussed in meetings, right? And so let's just say you have a meeting today, 2 weeks later you might have another meeting where you will certainly be asking the same questions to the same stakeholder that you actually asked today. So stakeholders get a bit, stakeholders, people who actually say the information to the business analyst, always remember everything that they've said. So 2 weeks later, when you go to the same stakeholder and you ask the same question again, they actually not they will remember that. They're going to think, oh, I explained the same thing 2 weeks ago, and that starts to sort of create doubts in their minds. And this is not the fault of the business analyst. I think as humans, we do not actually absorb every single thing that is being said in a meeting. Like if there's 100% covered, we probably only capture 50 to 60% of what is actually being said, and we think those are the key points. There will be a lot of stuff that is being conveyed by the stakeholder, which as a business analyst you would miss if you are just sitting there and taking notes using a pen and paper. So transcribing your meetings and having your transcripts that you can basically go and start asking, just query your own transcripts before going to the stakeholder. So you can do a search on all your meeting transcripts, and if you think that's something that you haven't asked the stakeholder before, then you can go and ask that question to the stakeholder. So these are tools that I think absolutely critical. And then there's tools, a lot of people talk about AI can write requirements for you, AI can write um, user stories for business analysts. This is something that I don't really agree with. I don't think, just getting AI to write a user story, like as a accounts officer, I want to easily export transaction data as PDF or Excel format, could be a requirement. That could be a user story. But getting an AI to write the user story is like, for the AI to even do that, you're going to have to feed a lot of information, which then it can write in a certain format for you, but it's not going to find the requirement for you. So AI is more like formatting. It just helps you in writing it in good English, is how I see it. People can disagree, but for me, AI is like helps me write certain things in a succinct way in English, where sometimes I can write something in English which is probably a roundabout way of saying things, or I probably use too many words. And this is where I think AI can help me with writing it in a tone that sounds better, or writing it with less words. You can use AI tools for even drawing process maps, but I think this capability is still not very good. You can only draw a simple process using AI. I think anything more complex, you cannot really get AI to draw process maps. So I'm not really sure that AI is going to help you create complex process maps. And process mapping is a skill that I think will always be valuable, because if you can't see a process on a piece of paper, I think it is one of the best ways to understand something. So it is one of the best ways to communicate to your senior management how complex their existing process is, because your senior management does not know how many people are involved in a simple transaction, right? In a simple process, people might think, oh, I mean, why is there problems there? But when you start putting it on a piece of paper with 3 or 4 swim lanes and like 6 to 7 boxes with arrows going up and down, they will start to realize, okay, this is a complex process. No wonder people are complaining. So process mapping is an absolutely amazing skill, and I think everyone should learn that. But I think AI is still, I still don't see AI tools automatically creating process maps for you. I've not seen one that is actually working 100% well. Another thing that AI I think would be amazing is, as a business analyst, you might write troubleshooting guides, or you might write training manuals for your users. So for example, you've implemented a new system, and you might be required to write a training manual to help users learn the system. There are amazing AI tools where you can actually record your screen, and when you're recording the screen, you can basically use the software that you've built, and based on what you're doing, the software or AI tool can write a procedure document. Like it can write whatever document that you want. Actually, it can basically write it for you. So instead of you manually taking screenshots of every step and then trying to explain, how to do a certain task within the system, you can use AI to actually kind of write training guides, or standard operating procedures, or manuals for your users. But these tools will make you as a business analyst work 100 times faster, make you produce outputs which is so much better than you as an individual trying to create these outputs. AI can do a much better job. So do not fight AI. Don't think you can do certain things better than AI. There are 100 things that you can do better than AI, and which you should be doing. But things that are repetitive, things where you think is just like grunt work, I think get AI to do it, because it'll do a better job than you or me. So the key takeaway for me is that business analysts bring in a lot of human skills, and problem solving skills, critical thinking skills, analytical thinking skills. These thinking skills should stay with us as humans. We should not outsource thinking part to AI, but there are certain tasks where you're writing documents, you're sort of doing repetitively, and those tasks should be automated with AI. So even writing documents, I think you would still write the document, but you can get AI to enhance your writing, Copilot to enhance whatever you've written. But what you write down comes from hundreds of meetings. You don't just write stuff for the sake of writing. As a business analyst, you do document a lot of stuff, but the documentation part is the last step. Before you document anything, you actually talk to a lot of stakeholders, you read a lot of documents, you observe people, and all that knowledge is what gets translated into a document. So a lot of the thinking, asking right questions, that's where the critical thinking comes in. Critical thinking is about asking the right questions. So as a business analyst, you're sort of doing the thinking part, but then you can use AI to do a lot of the grunt work for you. So a combination of human skills plus these AI tools will make you 100 times better than whatever you are. So hopefully, I think I've explained as to why I think business analysts will be even more in demand in future in an AI dominated world, because we understand people, we are really great at building relationships, and as a business analyst you start learning these relationship or sort of trust building skills, or just hone the humanness of yourself. So there are certain things that as humans we have, focus on those. And so that is what I think makes a business analyst great. So yeah, I mean, this is my take, and I'm happy to answer any questions, or if people disagree with anything that I've said, please do let me know in comments, and I'll try and answer them. Thank you guys. See ya. Bye.